Hi there, I'm Aly Elliott.
Hi, I'm Aly Elliott, and we're here today to continue the Hiraeth series, the series on the series regarding sibling bereavement. It's been a while since I made a last video. It's been a very busy fall, for which I am very grateful for. We are closing out 2020 and going to get all of these Hiraeth videos taken care of and produced so that the families can enjoy them and you guys can understand a little bit about the process and a little more deeply understand the stories of these kids. So today we are going to talk about baby Owen. Owen's mom and I go way back. We met shortly after our children passed. It's a similar story that you've heard through many of these images. We met through the Miss Foundation, and it just so happened that a couple of years later, she moved to the town that I was living in. I actually didn't live here when Keely passed either. And Keely would have been 4 when we moved to this town. A few years after that, Elizabeth and her family, Owen's family, moved here. So it was really nice to have that connection, that personal connection with somebody that you go way back with in a deep way, like I do with my fellow Miss families. Owen's mama is a writer, and her blog, I was blogging in my early years just kind of as a journal, not really as intentionally anything for anybody else to read, but it was a way to quickly and easily get out what I was feeling. And, they tell you a lot. You hear a lot to journal in early grief, especially, so you can look back on it and see how far you've come. And I did a lot better on the computer than I did putting pen to paper, and I was more consistent. So that was an outlet for me, and something that my kids can kind of look back on. And Owen's mom has had a blog for many years, and a lot of people have found great comfort in hearing her story. We're now veterans of grief. And I remember looking back at the mamas who had been down this road, were further down it than I was, and thinking of the heroes that they were to me. So I hope that I can be that for somebody, and I know that Elizabeth is. And to this day, she continues to keep her blog updated and live, and their family has grown tremendously. Their family has actually grown since we created this picture in Owen's memory for Hiraeth. She was the very first one to sign on to this. Like I mentioned, we were in the same town, so it was a little bit easier for scheduling and that kind of thing. We'd been to each other's houses before, and we had a personal relationship in addition to the internet relationship that I was able to have with so many families. When they signed up, they really signed up at the birth of this project, where nobody, including myself, had any idea what it was going to turn out to be. It could have been any number of directions. I knew I wanted to do something, and I had the avenues with which to do it. But at this time, she hadn't even seen the image of my kids. So to kind of explain visually what I wanted this project to be, I always had this image of my children that that I could show, and I could say, it's going to be different. It's going to be your story. It's going to be your children. It's going to be a different setting and a different set of props, a different setup, different lighting. Everything's going to be different because it's going to be you and your kids and your story. I didn't even have that. When we shot this, I had this urgency to get this done with my kids because I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it. I wasn't able to picture in my mind exactly what I wanted the image to look like, even though I wanted the image to look like what was in my mind. Does that make sense? It does to me, because I knew what I wanted it to be, but I wasn't sure how to get there. So I wanted this image for me. And a bonus of that is that I wanted to enter it into one of the big competitions that at that time I was just starting to get into these photographic competitions, and I wanted to create a story, and every story is the best when it's personal. That's how you can really narrate your story as a visual person. So we created our family, the Elliott family picture, when our youngest was 2 months old, and that was in March of 2016. And I couldn't share that image until my competition was complete in August of that year. So in that interim, I met with Elizabeth and her family, knowing that I wanted this to be bigger than just my family's image. By the grace of God, they trusted me to create this, and it was not only before their family was complete, so they have another child since we shot this, and they have since moved away, so we couldn't reshoot or anything like that. But I think that's an important part of the story too, because this is who we were when we shot it, and that's all we can work with, and that's why I wanted to create the children that were missing at the age that they would be right now. And I created one for my family in 2016 and one for my family in 2020, and it was a tremendous difference. So all we can do with our stories is work with what we have available right now. So I think that's an important key. I think that's an important key to Elizabeth's story and Owen's story, is we worked with what we had now at that time to be able to create a memory for their family. And we just kind of went out shooting. I didn't have a sketchbook of ideas yet. I didn't have really even more than what was on the paper, because I had no feedback from that image yet. So we were flying blind at this time. So I'm very grateful. Thank you, Owen's family, for trusting me with such a tremendous job and having nothing really to go on how it would turn out. So we met at a park. It was like a Saturday morning. It was a beautiful morning, and we shot a few different setups with her kiddos, who are gorgeous, and they were fantastic models. And we created Owen's image in a shadow form, which is a little bit different. As the project progressed, it ended up being more reflections, because it became important to me to see their faces. And a few of the moms expressed that same desire, that they wanted to see their faces in tangible form. And that's not the direction that we went with Owen's. I wanted it to just be very light and bright and cheery. And if you've met Owen's family, you'll know why, because beyond a shadow of a doubt, he is light and bright and cheery. And as you'll see in his mother's hi, Braverman. As you'll see in his mother's quote, they're light and bright and cheery, and without a doubt, he is too. So we photographed them grouped together, and we photographed them spread apart, and it made more sense to me to have them connected visually, because they're a connected family, they're a close family, and I wanted to represent that visually. The pink and blue balloons represent the genders of each of the children. Because they were grouped together, I wanted a different way to show who he was and who they are in visual form. And while with the naked eye we would see the blue balloon floating away and away from them, they see it. They're connected to it. And as you can see in his shadow, he's connected to it too. So it's not that he's floating away. He's very much a part of their group and of their play, but in his own way. and they see it and they feel it. So what we really wanted to work with visually was simplicity and things that encompassed this piece that he was. And I read a lot of his mom's blog to connect with them on that level.
That's why you my mommy.
You can see up in the tree, if you're really looking for it, a little red cardinal. And you hear about the cardinals a lot as a symbol for a spirit that's visiting. And whether you believe that or not, a lot of people just find comfort in the visit of a cardinal for that reason or for others. And we tucked the little cardinal into the tree. And it was pretty cool on opening night of the gallery show. The vast majority of the people that were there were immediately drawn to the cardinal. And it's like maybe 1/100th of the picture. It's very small in the midst of this scene of bright sun and light and shadow and simplicity and chaos. And whatever it was about this little break in the trees was just calling for a little red cardinal. That is their Easter egg as their hello from Owen. And to tuck him in there was a cool little thing that, you know, I wanted to add these Easter eggs, especially because we had shot these images before I developed the layers and layers and layers that I wanted to put in this show. So they had to be added later when it's a little bit more difficult to make them mesh well. And that came together beautifully. And that night, that was really cool to be able to see it over and over and over, that people were recognizing those Easter eggs. And I think partway through the show, people were looking for them, and they would even go back around twice to try and figure out the Easter eggs. In the hard copy book, I have highlighted in script, you can see right here, at the bottom of the page, some of the Easter eggs. To kind of help you seek and find. So here is what Owen's mama wrote, Owen's family wrote for him. Owen is not a tragedy. His life was beautiful and we loved him with our whole hearts while he was with us. His death was tragic, but his personhood is not a tragedy. We're so thankful to be his parents and we love talking about him. Though tears often come, they are not unwelcome. The tears of bereaved parents are like rain washing the truth-telling. Our hearts spill out the truth of grief and life and loss. We are still here and our children have gone before us. The death of a baby is mysterious and too great a burden to try to understand. We are still here and our tears tell the story of precious children loved and celebrated and missing until we go to them. I want to thank Owen's family. I want to thank Elizabeth for her writing and sharing her heart with us and for sharing Owen's story. And beyond a shadow of a doubt, his legacy will continue far beyond any of us. And I'm so grateful for the trust instilled in me by joining this journey to be a part of Hiraeth before it was Hiraeth, before it had a name, before it had a plan, really, before it had drawings or sketches or any kind of direction other than that way together. And I feel like we were being led a little bit in the best way. And I'm grateful to know each and every family. I'm grateful to know each and every story. And I want to thank the viewers here for coming along on this journey and learning about these babies who are doing great things from the great beyond. And I'm forever grateful to the families for sharing this deep love, this deep part of them. It is such an honor. Thank you for your time today. I've got another one coming up. I'm going right through the book. And Sweet Garen will be here on Friday, and I will share the story of his family and his image, and it's particularly special to me. So I look forward to sharing that with you, and I look forward to having you back. Thank you so much. Make sure you hit subscribe so that you know when the next video comes out, and I can continue sharing the stories of these families. Good night.
That's why you my mommy. Please.